Friends made an atypical discovery after they spotted a mysterious object coming from an unknown source floating above the river. There would rarely be a person on Earth who would not like hanging out with their close friends, especially if the friends are meeting after a very long time. There was a group of friends who set out on a trip to relive their old days. They thought it was going to be fun. However, the reality was far from that. This bunch of friends has been on a week-long trip when they accidentally discovered something that was going to haunt them for all their life. Not only that, the discovery took the netizens by storm when the video got uploaded online. It was the last day of their trip. They could not realize how the days flew by, and they were enjoying the last day of their trip. As it was their last day, they decided to make it special. They planned on spending their day at the bank of a river that was quite famous for its scenic beauty in the region. They had been to the river a long time. The place happened to be a picnic spot. Those who visit the spot calls it a place that brings serenity. What made this place more attractive was that it was considered one of the safe places for kids. Though the place is always full of people, the population increases manifold in summer. No need to say, the spot with pleasing breezes used to be considered heaven in summer with high temperature. One of the friends had brought his dog with him. The canine did not take much time to get along with the group. They would take it wherever they go. It had been a great companion throughout the trip. So when they made the decision to visit the prominent spot, they took the dog with them too. At that time, they had no idea about the role this dog was going to play in their amazing discovery. The bank was never devoid of people due to its popularity among the locals. The place had a charm that attracted people in mass. It was also secure for the children, as the water here would always remain calm. However, no one ever dared to descend into the water, so the depth was still unknown to many people, along with the secrets that the river had been hiding. The friends decided to relax for a while on that pleasingly sunny day before doing any other activity. All of them sprawled on the ground and began to chat. It had been a long time they had not talked with each other about stuff. All of them got so engrossed in their conversation that they could not notice the weirdness shadowing the place. Despite the fact that the day was perfect for a picnic, there was not much crowd there. In fact, much below than the expected numbers. Though everything looked normal, there was a weird vibe that this place was giving away. However, they thought it was so because they were visiting the place after a very long time. None of them had ever swam in this river, so they decided to give it a try this time. The water looked calm as always and was cold enough to soothe them in the scorching heat. However, there was only one doubt. They had no idea about the depth of the water. So, though they were excited, they were not sure if that was going to be the right decision. One of the friends had even brought a camera with him. They had video recorded all of the moments on the trip and had also planned to record this one. He took out his camera and switched it on only to record a strange thing that was going to cause a ripple throughout the world. After eating their lunch, they thought of exploring the place a little bit. The river was surrounded with woods that, no doubt, gave it an enigmatic look. Before going into the river, they planned on finding out more about the rarely visited forest. They paced towards the forest in hopes of not finding anything dangerous. It was cold inside the forest. As the lofty trees were restraining the sun from touching the ground, the forest had the perfect temperature. As they moved inside, the environment got darker and cooler. After a while, they decided to turn back as there was nothing significant in the forest. It was when they started stepping back that they realized they were lost. Well, they have no idea where they were. They had their phones, but unfortunately there was no service. Clearly they had lost the track, and they did not know which way to go. So they kept moving in the direction they already were in. After walking a while, they realized they had taken the wrong path, so they deflected towards the other direction. Fortunately, the forest was not much dense and dangerous. The path they eventually had turned to was indeed right. In about half an hour, they were out of the woods. They finally had managed to find their way back to the river. The dog was still dozing. The men took the sigh of relief on reaching that spot. After a while, they took off their clothes and rushed to the river. They took the camera too with themselves in order to film their first swim in the river. Surprisingly, the water was not very deep. They'd been enjoying it when the dog started barking all of a sudden towards the river. Scaringly, it continued barking incessantly, no matter how much its owner tried to calm it down. What's more surprising was the fact that none of the friends could make out what it was barking at. There was nothing, just the vast river. So they ignored the dog's bark and once again began enjoying the fun. On the other side, instead of quietening down, the bark of the dog only increased with its relentless behavior. In a matter of seconds, the canine began to run back and forth while barking constantly. It was then that they saw an object floating their way. The unidentified object was streaming fastly towards them. The dog had only been barking on it only. The object was quite big in size, that clearly made it visible from such a big distance. All of them were surprised when they saw the big object coming their way. Where did it come from, and what could it be? It was too big to be ignored. They waited for the object to reach them, and as it neared them, their doubts snowballed into fear. They sort of gotten the idea of what this actually was. The man with the camera voiced his doubt. What if it's treasure? Well, the thought indeed put others' mind in motion. What could be that object? As the object came closer, some of them suggested retrieving the thing by reaching it. The camera came forward for the job, but he didn't have any swimwear, so the task was passed to the man with blue swimming trunks. The cameraman said, "I vote this guy." Before the man gets into the water, the cameraman threw a stone into the river to check the distance. Thereafter, he warned the other man to not hurry up by stating, "I don't think it's moving for a while." However, the blue trunk guy was too excited to understand. He immersed himself till hip into the water and began to swim. After him was his dog. The cameraman shouted, "Float it over." Everybody had their heart in their mouth as they saw the man pushing the box towards them. Some of them said, "It's like Christmas." It was indeed. They had just stumbled upon a thing from nowhere. Finally, the object came near to them. They realized it was a cooler box. The blue trunk guy dragged the box to the land. The first question that popped into the mind of the friends was, what was it doing here? They pushed the cooler box to the land. It was a big white box sealed with tape. The box was heavy. Clearly, there was something inside it. All of them were confused. Some of them were laughing nervously, and others were staring at the box, wondering whether they should open it or not. What if the box was containing an explosive? Perhaps someone had forgotten this here, or perhaps someone had left it here on purpose. Before opening it, they decided to ask people in their surrounding if any of them owned the box. Every one of them, including the cameraman, started asking the people if they knew anything about the cooler. None of them had any idea about the cooler box. It clearly meant that the owner had left the place. The dog on the other side did not stop barking. In fact, he started circling the box as if wanting them to open it. What was this heavy box concealing? There were 4 strips of duct tape on the box along the lid. It seemed as if the box was meant to be thrown in the river. The cameraman, on seeing the box, asked, "Has it got one of those hatches?" He zoomed in the camera when the man was peeling the tape off the cooler. Though there were many assumptions, what they actually found was beyond their imagination. As soon as the man peeled off the duct tape and opened the hatch, he directed a glance into the cooler. The man jumped back in fear immediately as soon as he realized what was kept inside. He whispered, "What the fuck?" He looked at the camera stunned and scared. What exactly was that in the cooler? The reaction of the trunk guy had made everyone confused. The intrigued cameraman could not help but peek inside the cooler. The box had tiny limbs in it. He too leaped back and cursed. He had never been so scared before. Limbs in a cooler box. He dared to look again. Mustering up all the courage, he stepped towards the box and took another look. The box indeed had limbs, and not only the limbs, but the entire body was there. But this time, the cameraman began laughing. First he got scared, then he began laughing insanely. What was the mystery in the box? The box had a baby doll in it. It was unbelievable how a doll was there in a box. They were stunned and were laughing madly. Other friends too took a look, and they had the same expression. There was a mix of confusion and amusement. One of the men said, "There was a body in there," but that would be wrong to say that they were not nervous. However, their nervousness increased when they saw a note inside the cooler. The doll carried a message. The cameraman explained, "I'm like shaking." There was no reason as to why someone would hide a doll inside the box. One of them said, "Wait, maybe there's cocaine in here." They couldn't find a reason for that. They took up the doll and inspected it thoroughly to check if there was anything hidden inside. Surprisingly, there was nothing suspicious about the doll, nor did they find anything inside the doll. They even checked the cooler box several times, but there was also nothing except the doll. When the men turned the box upside down, they noticed something scribbled on one of the sides of the icebox. Well, their doubtful behavior had captured the attention of several people. One of them was a lady who could not wait and walked straight to the group to see why a cooler box was creating so much fuss. But instead of showing her, the men closed it down and offered her to open it by herself. They wanted to see how the woman would react to it. They said, "You gotta open it up yourself." The doll goes viral. She, infused with curiosity, opened the hatch and jumped back while cursing just the way the other people did. "Who does that?" she questioned, filled with fear. In fact, it took her a while to get herself together, and once she did, she concluded that it must be the work of a really disturbed person. They uploaded the video on YouTube. The cameraman stated, "I guess somebody gets a free cooler out of it." Naturally, many people crowded the place to see the content in the cooler. The cameraman remarked again, "Dibs on the doll." They uploaded the video on a popular channel called Mr. Technical Difficult. No need to say, the video went viral in no time. In a matter of days, it had thousands of comments and millions of views. There were commenters who expressed their amusement, fear, and some of them even doubt it. A user going by the name of Skylock commented, "Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me!" This user was one of those hundreds of viewers who associated the presence of the doll in the box to something sinister. But there were some who believed it to be a prank pulled by the cameraman himself. A user named Try Me said, "He just put a doll in the cooler, then taped it, and then, finally, he put it out in the river and started recording."